10 million Canadians will be affected by the grocery rebate, which is 25% of the population. But let's go have a look at this, because what I see is actually under 1% will actually benefit from this. So let's actually go through it. Now, the rebate, Trudeau put there because it'll help because of the carbon tax and Ukraine and the money printing that he's done. Now, who would qualify based on their own data is people who make less than minimum wage full-time. That's who gets affected by this, which is pretty low anyways if you have to live and actually raise a child even more. So that's where the 25% comes from, this 40 million Canadians, and 25% it'll save. Freeland is really pushing this hard that it is delivered to 11 million Canadians with families. And I know where the 11 million is coming from, I think. So let's have a look at that. And she's pushing it with families. Now, family information, like how many people, how many kids everyone has, you can get that from Statica, or you can get it from the government website, which is horrible, and that's the table name, and I can reference where the table name comes from. That data is ugly, 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 and they always make it ugly. They do it on purpose there. There's the 10.3 million. You notice how it was roughly 11 million people will be affected, roughly. Let me flip it back here. Expected roughly 11 million people. Well, there you go. Roughly is 10.3 million. That's where it's coming from with the families. Now that data is ugly as well. This is a summary. That's the 10.3 million, and we're going to go through it, how it's broken down. First of all, there's the 11 million roughly, and there's the 10.3 million that they are mentioning on there. Now, when we have a look a little bit further into it, I've noticed too, it says only parents, families with no children, 0. So I'm wondering, how can you be a lonely parent with no kids, which is puzzling. And when you look at it, coupled family with no kids, there's 4.4 million. And I'm a bit confused what this is. This is like senior citizens and the child is left. Is it over 18? Like, I'm not really sure what that's coming from. Like, I guess the definition, you call it a family, but your kid's left because they're over 20. So I guess every senior citizen who had a kid would be a family as well. It's very misleading there. And once again, you see lone parent 0. So that was a bit puzzling why I see that. See, there's the 4.5 million coupled families with no kids. Like, I'm not sure, single, just 2 people together with no kids. And you can see the average salary there of about $130,000, and it's a couple average, so we're talking about $65,000 each that they make, so they wouldn't really qualify that great anyways. And the definition of family is a bit confusing, so I had to look what it was, and this is what you'd expect. Married or common law in the same house with no children. I mean, that says it right there, and that's pretty broad, and senior citizens would fit in that too as well. So let's have a little bit more dive into what's going on there. Now, the question really is, of that $57,000, that's the average for one parent with the kids. That's the average. That is hard, considering it costs about $15,000 for a child anyways in Ontario. So if you really look at who's under 32,000 from there, and you really got to look at a bell curve and where it would be. The average is the 57,000. So we're talking about 2% or so are probably under, and there's some people that make 90,000 or whatever, because it is an average. So I would estimate there that it is around 75,000 people. A lone parent, about 75,000 people out of the 1.5 million there that would qualify for the benefit. And the same thing for the couples. And the couples there is 130,000. So that we're talking $65,000 on average per couple. I mean, you can use the same percentage to about 2 to 5% or so. And that 4.5 million with the couples, I mean, they don't have the $12,000 anyways to begin with. And, the wording here is incredible. See there, it is roughly 11 million Canadians. Then Freeland comes out very confidently and says, will be delivered to 11 million Canadians. Isn't that great? But, looking at the data, the reality is, and this is what it should be put in that you have to make less than minimum wage as a full-time job. And you got to pay rent and live. I assume that if you're that, you're out of school and that's it, you're working. And expected to be issued by 11 million people. But really, from what I looked, it's about 250,000 people. That's more of a realistic number. And that is like under 1% here. I mean, that 0.00625. I mean, you could bump it up to maybe 1%, but that's a huge, huge difference. And I'll put here too. So the news article starts off with 11 million and you're happy. You feel good. That's a 25% of Canadians will benefit. It's such a great program. But when you look at those numbers there, and she is pushing the family part a lot, it's really, from what I can see, about 1% would actually qualify. So, this wording that's going around, and I'll flip back to here, the wording that's going around from roughly 11 million delivered to 11 million, you look at the data and you have couples with no kids, and the average salary is well over the 32,000. I would like to, at the end of all this, what is the number? That's what I would like the reporter to ask. At the end of the day, this program, what is the exact number of people that got it? Because I got a feeling this is 1% or under. And at the end of the day here, the money that comes in, I mean, if you make under 32,000, have one kid or more, you're already on something else anyways. There's no way you can live in Canada with this guy there anyway. So, this is the way that's misleading information and how it's escalating as one tweet goes out, another tweet, and the wording gets all skewed. And this data at the end of the day, there's something very fishy with all this of how they label it. And I would like the data to come in like this anyways, because the way they do it with their ugly sheet is horrible. I have to admit, it's very horrible on there. And they mentioned 4 kids and over. I mentioned 2, how much money that is. Look at the link, this lone parent, 183,000. That's 3 or more. I would estimate there'll be 30,000 people that have over 4 kids in Canada, And at that point, it don't even matter if you make under 32,000. Let me imagine this. You make under 32,000, you have 4 kids. That it's impossible. I'll tell you right now, that's impossible. There's no way. That money will help nothing. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. And from what I can see, the most reality, this is actually qualifies for it. Earn less than minimum wage at full time. Remember here, 40 hours a week, minimum wage. And from looking at the data with the families that she keeps pushing so much, Freeland, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And now they're off for the summer. Automatic tweets will come in periodically as they do a schedules, and Bob's your uncle. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.